Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about April releases. As always, we're going to go through these in the order of release date. So let's get right into it. Right away on April 4th, we have What the Hex by Jessica Clare. This is the follow-up to Go Hex Yourself, and I have already read this one. This is set in the same world as Go Hex Yourself, and we are following another heroine who is becoming the familiar to a witch. And in this one, it is a fake dating, forced proximity, enemies to lovers romance. We are following our heroine who has been in the Society of Familiars for a very long time, and she feels like she is never going to get to learn magic, and she ends up getting paired up with this guy who is actually banned from having a familiar, and so she ends up working with him in secret because somebody might be out to kill him. I enjoyed this one quite a lot. My full review will be coming the next round of recent reads, so you can stay tuned for that if you want all of my thoughts. And then on April 6th, we have Against the Clock by Brittany Kelly, which is a indie pubbed book from a new to me author. I found this one over on Instagram. I talked about this in my TBR. I have no idea how I found this book. I'm sure someone shared it in their stories, and I signed up for the arc because I thought it sounded really cute. We're following our heroine who is a sportscaster, and she has a strict rule not to date athletes, but she ends up getting wooed by this star quarterback, and the two of them have a romance. I'm going to be reading this one hopefully before release date, so my review for this one should also be coming soon, hopefully. On to April 11th, I have 3 books that I am ridiculously excited for. First is The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. This is one that I've already read, and I've actually already talked about this one in a recent read, so I will link that up in the cards and down below. But this is a forced proximity nanny romance following our heroine who used to have an OnlyFans and ends up nannying for a guy that was a super follower of hers, and he ghosted her and she ended up shutting down her account, and now they have to live in the same house. And it is a very steamy nanny romance. Like I said, if you want more of my thoughts on it, I will have that review listed in all of the places. And then a book coming out by one of my favorite authors, we have Something Spectacular by Alexis Hall. This is the follow-up to Something Fabulous, and this is a romance following our 2 main characters who are both gender fluid, and one of them we did meet in Something Fabulous, the other one is an opera singer. I'm really excited for this one. I was a little nervous about who this one was going to follow because there is a character in Something Fabulous that I don't really like, but I'm very excited for this one. I think it's gonna be a really good time. I am excited for Odette to get her romance because she deserves better than Bella, okay? So I'm really excited for this one. I do have an arc of this one. Again, hopefully reading it very soon. And then lastly on this day, we have If Only You by Chloe Leese, which is the next book in the Bergman Brothers series. This is following the youngest sister who is a soccer player, and she is having a romance with a hockey player who also happens to be, I believe, on the same team as her brother. And so it is a brother's friend romance. So I'm really excited to get her romance. There's only 1 book left after this, I think, which is just tragic, and I'm not ready to say goodbye to this world, but I really, really love this entire series. So, and then on to April 13th, there are 3 more books. So we have Foolish Puckboy by Eden Finley and Saxon James. This is kind of a crossover between the Puckboy series and the Accidental Love series by Saxon James. And so in this one, we are following a character from each of those series. It is obviously a hockey player romance, and then our other hero is a firefighter. I'm really excited to give this one a read. I have to catch up on the Puckboy series before going into this one, but I love the Accidental Love series, so I'm really excited to get this crossover book between the 2 series. And then on the 13th, we have That Time I Drugged a Demon by Kimberly Lemming, which is kind of a surprise release in the series. I had no idea that this book was coming. All of a sudden, someone shared the cover on Instagram. I had no idea this was a thing, but I'm so excited for more books in this series. I did hear that she is going to be releasing this like really cute cover on her website at some point because this series did get picked up and there are new covers coming for it. And I just got the old covers for the first 2 books, and so I'm very excited that we're going to be getting this cover as well. Do I know what this book is about? Not at all. I love this world so much. This is kind of a medieval-esque feeling fantasy world, and in this world, in book 1, our heroine learned that demons weren't actually evil and that their goddess was actually evil, and now all of the demons live amongst the humans, and each of these is a monster romance. I love this series. I love these characters. I don't know who this follows, but I will read this series for as long as Kimberly Lemming writes it. I just love this world so much. And then the last book on this day is The Coldest Winter by Brittany Cherry. The synopsis for this book has changed over time. And so this at one point was a military romance. It no longer is. I believe it is now a student-teacher romance. So in this one, we are following a heroine who is a student, and I believe she has a one-night stand with this guy who turns out to be her professor. She might actually be a student teacher, if I'm remembering correctly from the new synopsis, but that is all I know about it. I really like Brittany Cherry's romances. They are usually really heartbreaking, so I'm kind of expecting that from this one as well. So I am planning to read this one. I don't know when. On to April 18th, there are 4 books coming out on that day. We have The Fiancé Farce by Alexandra Bellafleur, which is a new book from this author, completely outside of their Written in the Stars series, but this is another sapphic romance from her, and this is a marriage of convenience romance, and I believe it is an author and a cover model, and I don't remember why they need to get married. I'm sure each of them has their reasons, but I will read anything. Marriage of Convenience. I love a good fake dating marriage of convenience story, and make it sapphic, and I'm absolutely here for it. After that is The Secret Service of Tea and Treason by Indigo Holton, which is the next book in her Wisteria Society series, and this series is a very quirky, out-of-the-box historical romance following these Victorian era women who fly houses. I'm so invested at this point in this series that I don't even care who this next book follows, because I love how quirky and different and fun the series is. These tend to be very enemies to lovers-esque romances. I'm sure there's a lot of pirate shenanigans going on, and I cannot wait for another book in this series. After that, we have another indie published book, and that is The Ones We Fight For by Katie Golightly. This is another one that I found randomly on Instagram. I have no idea who shared this book. I have no idea how it got on my TBR, but this cover is adorable. And the synopsis sounds really good. It sounds like our hero is kind of like a lone guy. He doesn't have any real commitments, nothing like that. And then he ends up becoming the guardian to his niece and nephew. And suddenly he has to make all kinds of decisions that he was never expecting to have to do. And our heroine is getting out of a failed engagement. And the two of them end up meeting and they have a romance. It sounds like this one is kind of emotional as well, so know that going in. Apparently this is going to be a hard-hitting one, but I am really excited for it. I think the cover is adorable. And then the final book on this day is Bewitched by Laura Thalassa, which is the newest fantasy romance from this author. I know nothing about this book, so we are about to find out together. It says that our heroine is hoping to be accepted to an academy for young witches, but one of the requirements is to have access to their power, which she doesn't have yet, but she's on a trip to South America. Someone tries to abduct her on the plane, and suddenly her powers show themselves. Unfortunately, along the way, she loses her memories, and now she is stuck in the jungle with these magical abilities and no memories. And so that is all I need to know about it. It sounds really good. I've heard really good things about this author. I just haven't read from her yet, but I do own her backlist. So at some point, I need to start reading her books, but I am very excited for this one. On April 25th, we have 3 more books. First, we have Happy Place by Emily Henry, which is probably a book that nobody needs me to tell them about, but this is the next Emily Henry book coming out. This is a second chance romance between this couple who ends up going on this vacation with their friends, and they don't want to ruin the trip by telling everyone that they broke up, so they pretend they're still together. I'm sure this book is going to be on absolutely everyone's channel. Emily Henry is everywhere, so I don't think I need to linger here too long. And then we have In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune, which is a sci-fi Pinocchio retelling, which sounds wild. I believe the puppets aren't actually puppets, and I want to say they're robots. I don't know. It sounds super crazy, but I trust TJ Klune because I have loved pretty much everything I've read for him. So hopefully this one isn't too wild for me, but we shall see. And then lastly on this day is Zora Books Her Happily Ever After by Taj McCoy, and this is a love triangle. I believe it is a love triangle between our heroine, an author, and his best friend, if I am remembering correctly, and I love I love a good love triangle. I absolutely cannot wait for this one. Love triangles get such a bad rep in the romance community because everyone hates on them. But I'm here for them all the time. I love the angst. I love the drama. And I'm really hoping that this one delivers on a very, very dramatic, angsty love triangle. And then lastly for April, on April 30th, we have Paladin by Onley James. This is going to be the first spin-off of the Necessary Evil series, and the series is called the Jericho Boys, I believe. And I am not 100% confident that this was going to come out on April 30th. Onley James tends to give tentative release dates and then adjust them as she needs to. So this one might get pushed back. We shall see. This is following our main character, Arson, who is part of the Jericho crew, and he ends up saving a guy named Ever, who has spent almost his entire life locked in a closet, and the two of them end up forming this very codependent relationship, and it is a romance between the two of them. I have heard that this one deals pretty heavily with a lot of mental health stuff because Ever does have so much PTSD from being trapped in a closet his whole life. And so I'm very curious to see how this entire story works itself out since they do become so codependent. I love this world so much. All of her books are pretty interconnected, but this one is going to be, from what I understand, a pretty direct spin-off of Necessary Evil. Very excited for this. I'm not ready to leave this world, so I'm so glad we're getting more books in it. That was so fast. So if you want more information on any of these books, they are all going to be linked down below. I try to link every single book that I talk about in videos down in the description box. So if you want to know more about any of these titles, they're all down below for you to go and click on and peruse. Let me know if there are any other books coming up this month that I may have forgotten about, especially indie titles, because they are announced so quickly before release date that a lot of times I don't know about them as I'm making these videos. So let me know if there's anything I missed or didn't know about, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!